Hello students, and welcome to our class. We had an oral presentation today by one of our new students here, and his name is Dr. Todd Grande. Well, you know, everybody calls himself a doctor now, but this guy is in our class, so let's have a listen to what he said. But actually, you know what? I don't really have time to listen to him, so I'm going to kind of summarize it. Let's go over some of my notes instead. Dr. Grande starts off by asking, does veganism make sense? And throughout his video, he actually does not conclude that it does. He doesn't come out to say at the end, yes, veganism makes sense, veganism is the best thing for human health, for the animals, and for the planet. He doesn't come to that conclusion. So unfortunately, Dr. Grande gets an X for that. I am keeping some kind of notes here. I don't know if you could see them, but he has one X. He also says, is that vegan teacher good for veganism? And he concludes that that vegan teacher is not good for veganism. But he doesn't really understand why that vegan teacher is actually on TikTok and on YouTube. Now, the reason that I am here, and I've stated it many times, but he didn't do his research, is that I am simply here to disrupt society. In order to get the conversation on the table about the suffering of the animals, it needs to just appear, and it doesn't just appear if somebody doesn't shake things up to make it appear. Now, I've said many times before that I used to do a lot of little videos on Facebook and, just talk like every other vegan did. And what happened is, like every other vegan, I had a few thousand followers, but it ended there. And a lot of times what happens when vegans are doing their activism is that they stay in a very small circle that ends up being the same vegans over and over again. And I was determined to break out of that and find some way to talk about veganism to people who would never otherwise hear about it. Because most people don't really understand what veganism is about. And that includes people like Dr. Grande, who seem to have trouble finding the definition of the word, saying that there's no clear definition. But there is a clear definition, a definition which was written by the Vegan Society, and I will read it to you now. And by the way, the people in Dr. Grande's comment section, there are some very level-headed people in there, and some of them did post this definition. So good job for you guys. Here it is. Veganism is a philosophy and way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. So that's the main definition. So veganism is not a diet. It's about the animals. It's about assuring that we do the least harm to them. So, Dr. Grande, I hope that you have been educated about the definition. So you say that it's going back to about whether that vegan teacher is good for veganism. So since you don't seem to understand why I'm here, I'm not here to create vegans. I am here on TikTok and on YouTube because I want to get the conversation going. There are millions of vegans on the planet who are then free to pick up the slack and explain why veganism is great for health and for the environment. There are many bodybuilders who are vegan. There are vegans in the Olympics. There are vegans who are great cooks. There are all kinds of vegans who are great philosophers and vegans of every walk of life. There are mothers who are vegan. There are children who are vegan, grandparents. Those people are welcome now that the subject is on the table to speak out and say, yes, she's right. We are vegan, and here is why veganism is important. See, my job is simply just to get the conversation out there. So if you think that I haven't done my job, even though I now have amassed 1.6 million followers, and even though the video that I did about Gordon Ramsay got over 40 million views, a 15-second video, you call that unsuccessful? Well, we have a different definition of success. You said that you talked about different things regarding veganism, and you in your definition, you talked about meat. You failed to mention about the dairy and the egg industries, so that gives you another X. Oh, by the way, I must say you did pronounce my last name properly, Diekmeyer, so I'll give you a check mark for that. My last name is pronounced Diekmeyer, so good for you for figuring that out. Yeah, you seem to not understand that veganism is really about the animals, and you show no indication that you understand the suffering that they go through. At no time did you show any kind of sign that you saw the required documentaries such as dominionmovement.com. I urge you to watch it. Dominionmovement.com. It's all one word, dominionmovement.com. You and your viewers should watch it. I'll give you an X because you showed no signs of that watching that one. Another good one, and a very important one, is called Earthlings, and you didn't show any signs of watching that either. That's Earthlings, and that can also be watched easily on the internet. So watch dominion.com, all one word, no underscores, nothing. And the other one is Earthlings. Earthlings is narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, who is the famous actor who played in the movie Joker. He narrates the film, and he does an excellent job. He's also been vegan since he was 3 years old, and he doesn't seem to be dying or lacking in any kind of foods whatsoever. He looks pretty healthy to me. So, Dr. Todd Grande, you seem to not understand that veganism is about the animals, and that we as a society, as human beings, can be extremely healthy on a vegan diet. So, you also failed to understand that the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has confirmed that veganism is good for any stage of development. You never mentioned that in your talk at all. And if you are a doctor, even if you're a doctor of psychology or whatever it is that you claim to be, that would seem to me like an important part, to state that it can be healthy and for all stages of development, for infants, for children, for teenagers, for adults, for grandparents, for pregnant mothers and lactating mothers. In other words, veganism is for everyone. We can get all the nutrients that we need by simply going to the grocery store. Vegans too do take a B12 pill, but that is only because of the way that our society is right now with regard to how we wash vegetables. We used to get B12 more from the soil. It comes from a bacteria that's there. And now we simply get it in pill form. And the animals, if you eat animals, are given these supplements anyway. So it's not a big deal. A lot of people take a vitamin pill every day. This is not a big deal. You said in that my videos on TikTok are disjointed monologues. Loosely, let's one at a time. Disjointed monologues. Well, have you ever looked at TikTok? Do you understand that the time limitation on TikTok is 60 seconds? That's the time limit. So it's pretty hard to put together any string of things because people just receive them randomly. Even if I do have a series of videos in a row, it doesn't necessarily mean that anybody's going to see them in a row. From my perspective, they're not disjointed. They're always about the same topic, the animals, and the incredible suffering that they go through. It's a shame that you don't know that or didn't research that. So you get an X for that. You say that I have some videos where you said my singing can be loosely referred to as singing. Well, I'm very sorry if I'm not a professional singer. But, you know, Dr. Grande, there's nothing fancy about you. I'm sorry if I'm not a great singer. I'm just doing my best. What the fuck can I do? I don't know, you know. So I might not have a good voice. I don't care. I'm just here, like I said, to shake things up. People, you know, if I really cared about the final end goal of myself personally making some vegans, then I am going about it the wrong way, maybe. I should be nice, according to you, right? Should be polite and just tell everybody how great they are. But I don't believe that everyone's great. People like you, for example, I kind of think of as trash, to be honest. Your video that you reviewed of me was pretty dishonest. You're not really passing the class. Your oral presentation wasn't very good. There were too many ad hominem attacks, which is what I just did back to you, right? It's not cool, is it? It's not fun. We shouldn't have to resort to name calling. But, you know, this is the way it is on social media, unfortunately. It's not a way that I would like to be, but we end up being that way. Unfortunately, because otherwise nobody's going to listen, right? I mean, most of the people have already probably stopped watching this video because I'm not being mean enough or dramatic enough, whatever the fuck they want us to be. Welcome to class. I'm glad you're still here. It's good that you're listening. You talked about my dog Bella, and you said that Bella is suffering. Bella has been vegan since August 2017, and she's perfectly fine. You, again, didn't do your research. I'll give you an X for that. But you know what? I'll give you a check mark for mentioning my dog, because it is good that we're raising the subject about dogs being vegan. Because once we convince society that dogs can be vegan, which they can, then it is not so far away for them to realize that humans can be vegan too. Even people like you. Now, somebody like you who's suffering from severe cognitive dissonance, as can be seen by the bias in which you have in your video, you're not objective at all. And, you are suffering from cognitive dissonance. Part of you, if you're a good person, knows that what you're doing is wrong. You try to find all kinds of excuses. And the lame excuse, such as saying that vegans kill more animals because when the machines go to get the crops, they kill more animals than meat eaters, is ridiculous. Because the crops are being grown regardless. Either we feed them to ourselves directly or we feed them to the animals. But when we feed them to the animals, when we filter them through the animals, we create way more crops. Far better to not create these chickens, cows, and pigs by not raping them into existence and breeding them into existence in the first place, and to just simply grow the crops. And the scientific knowledge has shown that, the research has shown that we can feed more people in this manner. And there are less deaths. And they are not deliberate deaths. Okay, if a vegan walks on the street and accidentally steps on an ant, it's not their fault. They're still vegan. If vegans are trying as much as possible to not harm animals, to not rape them into existence, to not torture them in the confinement of these prison cells, to not put them in gas chambers. Yes, pigs are still put in gas chambers. If we try to avoid those things and we accidentally kill a few mice in a field who didn't have a chance to run away when the big plows come, we as a society can deal with that. Once the world becomes vegan, that won't be a problem anymore. We will find ways to give warning to these animals so they can scurry out of the way or grow crops in hydroponic ways. We are pretty smart. If we can send people to the moon, I think we can figure out how to grow food without harming animals. Don't you? I do. All right. So yeah, dogs, just to be clear, dogs can be vegan and they can be healthy. All they need to do is get a good brand of vegan dog food. And that can be ordered online. You simply Google vegan dog food and get a brand that has taurine in it, and it's not a problem. Same as cats. Cats are not obligate carnivores. They can survive because all you need to have is the specific nutrients in there, and then they're fine. There are vegan cats who've been alive for years and years, and you cannot tell the difference. If I put you in a dog park with several dogs, you would never be able to tell which ones are vegan and which ones aren't. So it is not a life of torture or whatever your bizarre video comment was about Bella being unhappy. Anyone who sees Bella knows that she's perfectly healthy. The vet has confirmed it many times, but that doesn't seem to matter to you. You just wanted to just throw out some personal insults. So that's about it for you, I think. Oh yeah, there was something you made some, I don't know if it was a joke or can't tell when you're joking and when you're not. Something about you think that wheat and soy and peanut butter are something that people need. People who are allergic to certain things can't be vegan. Well, that's bullshit. Because there are thousands upon thousands of other things in the store to eat. Okay, if you're allergic to soy, maybe it's a good idea that you don't eat soy. If you're allergic to peanut butter, maybe you should have almond butter instead. There are all kinds of choices, and once you decide as an ethical person that you don't want to harm animals, then it's easy. It's like you decide, I don't want to steal. I want to be a good person. I'm not going to steal. So you start your day off with this in mind. I'm never going to steal. And then you don't steal. So if you start your day off with, I'm not going to harm animals, I'm not going to put them on my plate or in my shopping cart, then you figure it out. Right? And that's how our society should be. That should be the baseline. In the same way that we have a I shouldn't steal rule, we should have a I shouldn't hurt animals rule. But if supposed educated doctors like you can't figure that out, oof, yeah, we got a long way to go. And I suggest that all the other vegan animal rights activists step up and start confronting people like you, because you're clearly misinformed. I urge you yourself to take a good long look in the mirror and on a personal level, try to figure out why you're acting like you are. Are you feeling guilty? Are you feeling guilty knowing that you're eating these animals when you could choose anything else? You are literally choosing your palate, your taste pleasure, over the life of another sentient being. How does that make any sense to you, doctor? As I said before, you could eat anything else. So it is no different than you saying, I would like to, kill cats and dogs because I love hearing the sound of their screams. That's another sensory pleasure. Maybe that's what you like. So just because you like hearing the sound of their screams in agony, that gives you the right to kill them? Of course not. So just because you like the taste, which is another sensory pleasure, does not give you a right to kill them. Go and eat other things. Let's review briefly, for anybody else who's listening, what are the important documentaries and why you should watch them. Watch Dominion.com. It's actually called Dominion Movement, but you can get to the link by typing watchdominion.com and earthlings.com. These are so important because if you don't have the information, you end up ignorant, like you, sir. You don't have the proper information. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You failed the class. Here is your final grade. A whole bunch of X's and 2 check marks. Go back, go watch the documentaries, educate yourself, and do another video presentation. If you keep it under 10 minutes, I'll evaluate it. Good night.